Hello, welcome to Hints for Health, a series of podcasts covering areas and issues of concern and interest to global workers and those interested in having optimum health. Join us as we explore topics that affect most of us today and find ways to address potential challenges to your health. So let's join our hosts, Brian and Stephanie Kidman.
Osteoporosis comes from the Greek term porous bones. Bones become more porous with age as new bone cells cannot keep up with the loss of old bone cells. Osteoporosis is present when the loss of bone is great enough to cause brittle and fragile bone that is more subject to fracture. Hello, I'm Stephanie Kidman, and with me is Dr. Brian Kidman, a medical doctor and my husband. So let's first identify who is most likely to suffer from osteoporosis.
Yes, osteoporosis affects men and women of all races, but white and Asian women, especially those who are past menopause, are at the highest risk. Now, the reason that we do something called a DEXA bone scan is to screen for osteoporosis, because typically there are no symptoms of osteoporosis until a person actually breaks a bone.
I learned in nursing school that thin white women living up north are at a higher risk for osteoporosis than average. Since I was in that category and my mother had had a hip fracture, I requested a DEXA scan at age 56. Lo and behold, I already had osteoporosis of the spine.
Yes. Normally it's recommended that women get a DEXA scan at age 65 and that men get it at age 70. But if you recognize that you're at a higher risk, well, then you can have it done earlier.
My story is that from an early age, I knew milk products were important and provided calcium to strengthen my bones and teeth, so I purposely drank milk, ate yogurt and cheese in my younger years, but not as much in my older years. Milk products and calcium supplements in pill form seemed to bother my stomach, so I shied away from them. Then I moved to South Dakota, where we lived for 20 years, and got very little sun from November through April.
And I know that you know why the sun is important for osteoporosis, right?
Yes. The UVB rays from the sun synthesize vitamin D. The vitamin D promotes calcium absorption in the gut and supports adequate calcium in the blood to enable normal bones. Dr. Kidman, just how much sun should you get, especially considering skin cancer is a real threat?
Yes, it's a balance. So I would say 10 to 30 minutes of sunshine a day where you're not wearing sunscreen and you're not wearing a long sleeve shirt would be recommended to get sufficient vitamin D synthesis during the warm months, usually April to October. Now, less sun is needed in the summer than in the spring and fall months because the UVB ray intensity is, of course, greater in the summertime.
Oh, so you could take like a 20-minute walk in the sun and it would give you the vitamin D you need and, of course, help prevent many other diseases.
Right, but you will need to get your vitamin D from fortified foods or supplement form during the winter. In fact, I had many of my patients in South Dakota take vitamin D supplements not only for their bone health, but also for muscle and joint achiness, numbness, tingling, sluggishness, and even depression, because a lack of vitamin D can result in those problems. I typically looked for a serum or a blood level of about 50 for my patients, and even better if they could get up to a level of 70.
Okay. And I've always heard and sometimes noticed that people in the north get cranky and sluggish in the winter. I guess it wasn't just from the weather, but it could have been from a lack of vitamin D as well.
That's probably right.
So how much calcium and vitamin D do we need?
Most people will need to take 2,000 international units, or IUs, of supplemental vitamin D a day from November till April.
And what about calcium?
At minimum, 1,000 milligrams of calcium a day for men and women ages between 18 and 50. After age 50, women need 1,200 milligrams, and men need about that amount after age 70. Now, there are some sources that recommend up to 1,300 milligrams of calcium per day for the general population. And we're speaking of total calcium in all forms per day, both what we eat, drink, and what we take in supplement form.
Well, I find that the calcium supplements don't have very many milligrams in each pill, and besides, both the pills and the milk products upset my stomach. Do you have any suggestions?
Yes, you can find calcium supplements in the form of caramels or gummies, or even in powder form in some pharmacies and health food stores. Look for other sources of calcium like dark green leafy veggies, canned salmon, sardines are some examples.
I also try to buy the fortified orange juice and cereal as well. Even some soy products like tofu are fortified with calcium. Almond milk, soy milk, and coconut milk are also fortified with calcium. Almonds, figs, broccoli, kale, nuts, eggs, and seeds all have a fair amount of calcium as well.
Hey, do you know which dark green leafy veggie has the most calcium?
No. Is it spinach?
That's a good guess, but actually the calcium in spinach is not really absorbed very well. The answer is collard greens.
I don't know if I've ever eaten collard greens, but I guess I could look for a recipe and give them a try. So what I see is that even if I have sensitivities to dairy products, I can get my calcium from a variety of sources. So if you have lactose intolerance, you still might be able to eat a little Parmesan cheese and maybe digest yogurt okay, because that is especially high in calcium. 1 cup of yogurt can deliver 34% of your needed calcium in a day. Plus, yogurt is rich in probiotics, which are so good for your immune system and digestive system.
But we have to remember that both magnesium and vitamin D are also needed to absorb the calcium into the bone.
Yes, studies have shown that a deficiency in magnesium contributes to osteoporosis.
Yes, magnesium is important actually in many cellular functions and has been shown to improve things like constipation, sleep, and even muscle cramps.
I prefer to get most of my nutritional needs from real food. I know cashew nuts and almonds are good sources of magnesium. If you're a missionary in Brazil, be sure to eat your Brazil nuts because they are a major source of both calcium and magnesium.
Seeds, especially flax, pumpkin, and chia seeds, have a lot of magnesium, as do whole grains.
Legumes, especially black beans, do as well. And guess what else?
Yes, let me guess. Those dark leafy greens.
You got it. Did you notice that these are pretty much the same foods that build your immune system?
I did notice that. And many of them are considered anti-inflammatory as well, which means that they help prevent a variety of diseases.
It's amazing how one element lacking can cause or relieve so many symptoms. So how much magnesium is recommended?
A little over 400 milligrams from both food sources and supplements together would cover pretty much everyone's needs.
Okay, so we need calcium, vitamin D, and magnesium from food or supplements to prevent osteoporosis. Now let's talk about exercise. What are the best exercises for people who are prone to osteoporosis, and how do they make a difference?
Well, there are a variety of exercises needed to slow osteoporosis and prevent that stooped over appearance that's common as we get a little bit older. Certain exercises will strengthen your bones and muscles. Other exercises will improve your balance and your coordination and flexibility so that you won't fall as easily, which will, of course, lessen the chance of breaking a bone. And lastly, there are exercises related to posture that can help prevent the hunched back. Sometimes a person is stooped over because of compression fractures of the upper backbones that we call vertebrae. They'll probably need to see a professional to evaluate and help them know what exercises that they should and shouldn't do.
Well, let's start by talking about the weight-bearing exercises. So we're not talking about weights that you lift, but the weight you put on your bones and muscles when you do the exercise. When you are on your feet, your bones react to the force or weight you put on them by laying new bone and thereby getting stronger.
If you don't have osteoporosis or your osteoporosis is not advanced, you can do high-impact workouts like jogging, jumping rope, or aerobics. Even pushing a lawnmower can help with osteoporosis.
Moderate impact exercises, which build and strengthen bones, would be climbing stairs, hiking, and even dancing.
We can strengthen the bones and muscles of our arms by lifting weights, by using weight machines or elastic bands 3 to 4 times a week.
push-ups, squats, and balancing exercise strengthen your core, abdominal, and low back structures and help prevent falls.
Say, tell us about balancing exercises.
Well, I can rise up on my toes and stretch my arms to the ceiling for like 10 seconds. And then, how about you try it for a second? You and the listeners.
Let's give it a try. Oh,
so
yeah.
Rising up on your toes.
Rise up. Yep. All right.
Can you feel your back stretching?
Yeah.
That's really good for you, and it's great for your balance. Or I can stand on one foot and count to 10, and then on the other. If I can do that successfully, I try it with my eyes closed.
It's good to have a handrail or chair back nearby in case you start to drift, though.
And did you know that Pilates is helpful for people prone to osteoporosis? It improves strength, balance, and flexibility.
But if a person already has osteoporosis, then I recommend that they check with their doctor to make sure that they have a safe exercise plan that's tailored for their specific needs and situation so that they avoid unnecessary risk.
Okay. And remember to make sure your diet has plenty of calcium.
And if you're not living near the equator, take your vitamin D supplement every day.
And of course, magnesium. Even though some of us might be prone to develop osteoporosis sooner than others, we can delay it by exercising, getting the nutrition necessary for our bones to lay down new cells. That will help us remain healthy as long as possible.
Yes, and don't forget what the Bible tells us in Proverbs 17:22. It says, "A joyful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones." That doesn't really talk about osteoporosis using that word, but it does talk about the principle. So laugh, forgive, let God's Spirit encourage you as you daily take in truth from reading and meditating on the Word of God.
Amen to that. Have a great day, and may your bones be strengthened.
Thanks for listening to Hints for Health today. Join us again in the future for this series of podcasts that will help you in your goal of optimum health. This series is created and produced by Compassion Link, an Assemblies of God World Missions International ministry. I'm your host, Neil Ruda. For more information, visit www.compassionlink.org/hints for health and follow us on social media. God bless you.